everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for another information session. I am Simona Morton. These information sessions are part of the campaign for International Women's Day 2021 and are being presented courtesy of Women's Desk, a division of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs in partnership with Prominent Women Foundation. The head of CDFHA is Ms. Chantal George Kunevelt, and the president of Prominent Women is Ramona Riley. Now, for these campaigns, we have been looking at spirituality, mental health, and for this session, our third session, we're going to be looking at nutrition, its importance. And our guest is Swinder Richardson. We are going to be talking with her, and I'm going to invite Swinda to give you her opening remarks and to tell you a bit about herself and what she does.
Okay. My name is Swinder Richardson, and thank you, Simona, for having me here. I work at Collective Prevention Services as the public health nutritionist. I've been there for pretty much 15 years, and it's a very enjoyable profession. Is very diverse, and I do enjoy the projects and programs that we do have going on at our department.
All right, Swinda, thank you for sharing with us about what you do. Working 15 years at any place is commendable, and I'm sure that CPS is glad to have you. Now, when I think about nutrition, I think food. Could you enlighten us on what nutrition is, what it involves?
Okay, so nutrition, I usually would tend to ask persons when I do sessions, what does nutrition mean to them? And often I get a response is that nutrition is something that's supposed to be healthy. It's food that nourish our bodies. So nutrition is the consumption of food that we digest, we absorb it in our bodies, it nourishes our body so that it can function healthy and in optimal function to do our daily activities and so forth.
Okay, so is it just on food alone, or is it a combination of other factors when we speak of nutrition?
Well, it's a combination of not just eating food. It's the breakdown of nutrients into smaller particles so our body can absorb the nutrients. It's the selection, the mindful selection of the proper foods that can nourish our bodies and give our bodies the correct amount of nutrients, ample amount of nutrients that are not high in calories, high in salt, sodium, which is also sodium, and not high in fats. So it's a combination of different factors that influence what nutrition is to us.
Okay, as I think about the word nutrition, I remember being in school and having a look at a chart that has, the different portions of how much staples, fruits, vegetables, and stuff like that. Could you give us a little bit more clarity on what that really means in terms of portions?
Okay, so you're referring to the food pyramid. It has been revised. At first, it was in the form of building blocks. And in the food pyramid, there are different food groups. You have the fruits and vegetables food group. You have the grains food group, which is the largest. And you also have your meats and your dairies food group. So it's broken down in terms of you have your dairies and your meats that you consume, which is at the top of the pyramid. Then you have your fruits and vegetables, which we need to emphasize more on in our community because we tend to not eat much of those foods. They are rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And then we have our grains group, which consists of breads, rice, whole grain foods, which we should focus a lot on in order to get our fiber. At the very tip of the pyramid, we have where we should consume very little of, which is fats, oils, and sugars. So that sums up the food pyramid. And you can look at the different food groups in order to get a variety of the different foods, and also to make sure that you consume within the right portions of foods when you select them for meals.
Okay. You mentioned that the food pyramid has been revised. Okay.
Yes.
Now, I want you to share with us a little bit more in depth as to how nutrition has evolved over the last 2 to 3 decades. Because growing up, I didn't hear much about focusing on fruits and vegetables. You know, it was the yam, the dasheen, that kind of thing, you know, being from the Caribbean. So tell us a little bit more about how nutrition has evolved over the last couple of decades.
So nutrition has now become more of a lifestyle for many people. They are more health conscious of what they consume. And over the years, it has been taken to another level of, instead of just being in the hindsight, it is also being focused as nutrition is medicine. So instead of being diagnosed with a disease or condition such as hypertension, diabetes, or high cholesterol, our first step now is to focus on nutrition as a preventative method to avoid having those conditions develop in our lives early on in our lives or even later on in our lives. It's an approach that you use nutrition to help regulate hypertension, to help regulate heart conditions, to help regulate diabetes, because they're all factors that influence these type of diseases in our bodies.
Okay, I loved how you spoke about, you know, nutrition being a lifestyle and it being proactive as a preventative measure against, you know, certain diseases. So could you speak to us about the link between what we eat and diseases?
So as I said before, nutrition influences our bodies in terms of making us predisposed for diabetes or hypertension. So for example, if we tend to consume foods that are high in sodium, you put yourself at risk of developing hypertension. If we consume too much calories and our bodies are not able to break down the foods the way it should, it predisposes us for diabetes or high consumption of sugars, not just sugars, but also calories. If we consume foods that are high in fats, it predisposes us for high cholesterol or even heart diseases or stroke. So what we eat influences how our bodies respond to these foods and what kind of diseases we may develop.
So in essence, you're saying to eat your food as medicine beforehand.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That is very good, because we know that medicine, it's good, it helps, but we want to be proactive in that we eat what is right, so we do not end up on the, you know, the area of having to use medicine now to help us to get well.
Yes.
So then, should we change the way that we eat as we age, as we get older? Should that change?
The way we eat should change as we get older, because our body changes as we get older. Our metabolism is not as high as it used to be. Our way of digesting food is not as efficient as it used to be. So in terms of the amount of calories we consume, we should reduce the amount of calories we're consuming. We're not as active, although we should try to maintain activity. But if we're not burning off those calories, then we tend to store those calories as fat. Our digestive system, in terms of constipation, drink more water, eat more foods that are high in fiber to help that bowel movement.
What would be your advice? You know, older persons tend to be stuck in their ways. They've been eating this way for years, and then now the doctor guides that, okay, you should begin to shift your diet, what would be your wisdom to that type?
I would advise them to try to take it one step at a time. See what best works for you on a daily basis and tweak it bit by bit. Don't make one drastic change and then you feel overwhelmed with the change. If you tend to have dental problems, choose foods that are softer to eat. If you're more fatigued during the day, try to prep prior the day before, or prep your meals early in the morning. Make a plan prior to the day in order to accommodate the changes you need to make in your life.
Alrighty, thank you so much. We've been having a conversation with Swinder Richardson, a nutritionist. She has been sharing with us helpful advice, helpful ways to approach nutrition. We'll be right back with more of a conversation with Swinder Richardson.
Les vaccins sauvent environ 2 à 3 millions de vies chaque année et constituent donc l'une des interventions médicales les plus efficaces jamais inventées. Un vaccin vous protège, mais il protège également votre famille, vos amis et les personnes vulnérables de votre communauté. Plus le nombre de personnes vaccinées est élevé, plus le virus aura de mal à se propager. Lorsqu'un nombre suffisant de personnes sont vaccinées pour créer une immunité collective, cela peut mettre fin à la pandémie. Le gouvernement pourra alors réduire les restrictions concernant le coronavirus et les touristes pourront revenir, ce qui est vital pour notre économie. Le vaccin COVID-19 sera gratuit pour tous. Il n'est pas obligatoire de se faire vacciner, mais il est fortement encouragé. Si vous avez des questions concernant votre situation particulière, parlez-en à votre médecin. En attendant, nous devons être responsables et continuer à appliquer les mesures de sécurité du COVID-19, comme le port du masque, le lavage des mains et le maintien de la distance sociale. Ces messages d'intérêt public vous ont été présentés par le département des services de prévention collective et le département de la communication.
Hello everyone, welcome back. We've been having a discussion on nutrition and its importance with our guest, Swinder Richardson. Now, Swinda, I want to jump and continue on where we left off on nutrition and how it relates to aging and diseases. Could you tell us what are the best foods to eat as you age, for children, teens, young adults, and elderly? What would you recommend for the various categories?
So for children, they're at an age where they're growing and they're developing. So foods that are high in calcium. You have your leafy greens that are high in calcium, milk. If you're not pro cow's milk, you have different milk like rice milk, almond milk, coconut milk, which you can drink. For active adult teenagers, you have to make sure you consume enough foods that are high in calories. You're very active, sportive, foods that are high in calories, but also nutritious and not just empty calories. You want to make sure that you select foods that nourishes your body. As we get older, those calories, we tend to reduce them because we're not as active. So foods that still are dense in calories, for example, superfoods, they are often referred to, which are high in antioxidants, high in nutrients. We will consume those type of foods. Our leafy green vegetables, our fruits, nuts, which are high in fatty acids, which is very important for our body. The healthy fats are also needed.
Okay. Speak to us on the value of a home-cooked meal as opposed to grab something and go to fast food.
A home-cooked meal, do you know what you're putting in the food? So in terms of the amount of oils, the amount of seasoning or sodium, you have control of what you're putting in your food. You can have time to prep your meal, take time to think about what you want to eat to create a proper and balanced meal. So half your plate is your fruits and vegetables, a quarter of your plate is your grains, and another quarter of your plate, your meats or your meat alternatives if you're vegetarian. You have better control in terms of your nutrients and your calories you're consuming.
Okay. So I want to issue a challenge. If I say food is food, I'm eating, what do you say to that? Because the person who loves the quick, the fast one, it's a meal.
It is a meal, you're getting something from it, but over time, it will have an effect on your body. If it's high in sodium, if it's high in cholesterol, if it's high in sugars, but still not high in nutrients, you're not getting the nutrients your body needs in order for it to function properly.
Okay, I loved how you brought out the points about over time. You don't see the effects right away,
Right.
but over time.
Yes.
What are some of the effects that are seen after the time has passed? Tell us a bit more about that.
Over time, like I said in the first few questions you asked, is you develop certain risk factors. You tend to get diabetes earlier in age. You tend to be overweight. You get hypertension earlier in age. You're even predisposed to certain cancers earlier in age. So these are different little factors that influence how healthy your body is.
Okay, all right. We've been hearing a lot about superfoods, in the news of late, and you mentioned it. Could you give us an in-depth list of superfoods, what they look like and what they do?
Superfoods tend to be more wholesome foods, so they are not processed foods.
Okay.
They are high in nutrients, antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins. So you have your greens, your leafy green vegetables such as kale, spinach, romaine lettuce, for example. You have your fruits and vegetables, whether it's local fruits and vegetables that you can buy at the market or by a food stand that sells them. You have your nuts and your seeds, lentils, almonds, walnuts, those that are high in antioxidants also, but also the healthy fats, fatty acids.
Okay. Now, I'm a person who loves practicality. So when I hear nutrition, I want to know how could I incorporate it as quickly as possible. And I recently read an article about how you could look at certain foods and pair them with a part of your body. Are you familiar with that? For instance, the walnut is associated with the brain. The carrot associated with the eye. Could you share some more about that?
Well, I believe that they do that to encourage persons to be more proactive in eating these type of foods in order to nourish these different parts of your body. We do need fatty acids to help with the proper function of our brains and certain functions within the body. Proper female development, our reproductive organs, you need to eat proper foods in order for it to be healthy, to have optimal health, and to lessen those female conditions that we tend to suffer from within society. So they tend to get these little tips and guides in order for persons to be more influenced in terms of selecting healthy foods.
Okay, so
and how it functions and helps our body.
Okay, just to continue on that vein, you mentioned reproductive health for women, and we are challenging women, in spirituality, mental health, and today nutrition.
Yes.
So with the focus on reproductive health, what are some of the foods that women can eat for that particular area?
So we keep our foods as natural as possible. I make a lot of emphasis with our fruits and vegetables because we tend to not consume enough of those. Within St. Martin, we tend to eat a lot of starches, whether it's ground provision or rice. We tend to eat too much of those foods, and it influences our weight. Our weight also affects our reproductive organs and our fertility. So in terms of controlling our weight, making sure that we have that under control, exercises are also an important factor in terms of maintaining a healthy weight or reducing our weight. So we have to bear in mind that not just healthy eating is good for us, but also physical activity.
Okay. Now I want to tease you a little bit. You mentioned ground provision. I grew up knowing ground provision as being good for you. The more of it, the better. It makes you strong. It gives you energy. And you mentioned that it has a lot of starch in it.
Yes.
Now, for our community, we tend to eat, most of that is what we eat. Mm-hmm. So speak to that for us. The Johnny cake and the chicken, speak to that for us.
So the ground provision, yes, it's starchy. It's healthy because it's natural, yes. But we have to bear in mind that we still need to portion control those foods, not eat it in abundance, because too much is not good for us either. So we need to balance out foods, our ground provisions, with probably something with a little fiber in it, so that it takes some time with digestion in our body and not digest too quickly. That can cause spikes in our blood sugar levels.
Okay, thank you for bringing clarity on that. So it's a matter of portion control and having variety, yes, when we eat for our health.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Swinda, what would be your main message as it relates to nutrition?
I would like to encourage persons to be mindful of the type of foods they consume. I know on a daily basis we're all busy. Sometimes work, family takes away time from probably preparing meals and doing those little important things we need to focus on that are influencing our lives. Take time out, plan your meals, decide which stores you want to go to shop to. Check the prices, because we know prices is an issue on the island for us. So shop around, check the different stores to see what the prices are to better budget for your food and your meals at home. Cut out the things that are not necessary. Focus mainly on nutrition, but make it fun. Enjoy what you eat. Don't make it something that is too strict or rigid that you can't maintain it for a long period of time. Make food fun, but also healthy at the same time.
Okay, so planning puts me ahead.
Yes.
Planning causes us to prevent the adverse effects of certain diseases.
Yes.
All right? So some signs of poor nutrition. I may be young, I feel good, but then I realize I'm experiencing certain symptoms. What are some of the signs of poor nutrition?
So poor nutrition can be seen in, first of all, our weight. Our clothes don't fit right. Whether we gain weight or we tend to lose weight rapidly in an unhealthy manner. You have unexplained fatigue. You tend to be tired and you're not aware of why you're tired. You may not be consuming your foods in the right manner or the right time, or too much or too little of something. Our hair and our nails are also a telltale sign of whether or not we are eating properly, consuming enough liquids, nutrients in our foods. Those are some of the things that we can look and identify very easily.
Okay. Would you say that nutrition is generationally influenced?
It is generationally influenced. As time, like you mentioned, we grew up on ground provision, more wholesome foods. We know that. But in society today, it's more about fast foods, something that you can easily grab, because people don't take time to plan ahead or don't have the time to plan ahead. So as time goes on, generationally, you see more processed foods in our meals, more refined foods, foods that don't have enough grains, enough nutrients in it. In nutrient-dense foods, you tend to not see much of those at times. So it's like a double-edged sword. We are moving more health conscious, but at the same time, we are seeing more foods that are not healthy for us on the market.
Okay, so generation does have a great influence,
yes, it does,
on how we eat and how we view nutrition. I feel like I've been fully educated on the issue of nutrition. So thank you so much, Swinda, for bringing enlightenment to the topic of nutrition and how it affects us all.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. And that's a wrap for us. Thank you for joining us for our third information session where we looked at nutrition and its value, its importance with Swinder Richardson. I am Simona Morton on behalf of the Community Development and Family and Humanitarian Affairs and Prominent Women Foundation. Thank you for joining us.